When we invest, we should think of it like a family business that can never be sold. So if, Buffett uses the analogy of a punch card. He says that you have a card which has 20 punches and then you can't punch it anymore. He said each time you buy a stock in your whole life, you punch it once. And when you've bought your 20th stock, you cannot buy any more stocks. So if that was a rule that was imposed on you, you would think long and hard about each stock. And one of the things you think about is, can I live with this forever? So we are always trying to buy things at a discount. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I made through most of my career. Most of my career, my model was buy something at 40 or 50 cents, sell it at 80 or 90 cents, go back and buy another one for 40, 50 cents. And it took me like 25 years to figure out that is so stupid. That these compounding machines that come along are so rare. And if you find yourself in the happy position of having one of those, then you should even keep it when it is overvalued. You shouldn't keep it when it's egregiously overvalued, but you should keep it when it's overvalued. So give a lot of benefit of doubt to the holdings that you have in terms of whether or not they're overvalued. Give them a lot of benefit and try to keep them for a longer period. So if you have a family business, you do not do a calculus every year saying, what can I sell this for? Should I sell this? You just don't do those types of things. If you have a house that you really like, you really don't care what somebody will pay you for it. I bought a home. I moved to Austin, Texas recently. I bought a home. I don't like to move. And I said, Avi, I'm never moving. This is the home. This is it. We're going to die in this home. Then the realtor who sold me the home, he calls me and says that some couple from Connecticut, the Wall Street Journal did a feature of library of my home. So after that, there was some interest. So this couple in Connecticut said, they want to buy your home. So he said, yeah, no, I already told them it's not on the market and that you will never sell the home, etc. So they said to him, everything is for sale. Everything on earth is on sale for a price. So I told him, they are absolutely right. Everything is on sale for a price. So I told them, tell them this is the price, which was about 3 times value of the house. Instead of going away, they came back and said, can you show us some more pictures? Then I told them I don't want to waste time. I told them, write me a 3-paragraph essay of why you want to buy a home for 3 times what it's worth. They went away. Nobody likes to write anything. And thankfully, I get to keep living in the same house that I have. I really didn't want to. That would have been a sad day if they said, okay, we'll pay 3x, Then I would have been, regretting that. But that's okay. So basically, if the job is done right, we never have to sell.
If you believe you should not own what you own, please discuss the pros and cons of concentrating your investments versus diversification. Okay, very good question. I don't believe in diversification at all. I would own one stock if I could find one great stock. Diversification is a big mistake. I call it diversification. You buy this thing that might balance this other thing, and they both go down. My God, I got enough questions. I got enough questions to come at your 5th annual conference here. My God, I think we have enough conference. Thank you very much. Oh, that's a pretty big one. So I don't believe in diversification at all. I would own one stock. But what I do believe in is if I find 10 good stories, they're all equally attractive, I buy all 10. And I wait to see them unfold. It's like watching 10 poker games. 10 games of stud poker. You watch the cards turn over, story 3 gets better, story 6 slips, story 7 stays the same, but it goes up 50%. So you sell 7 and buy 2. That's all I do. So if they're equally attractive, I buy all 10. Then gradually some story says, oh my God, this is getting better and better, and guess what? The stock just went down. So you keep watching 10 stories, and magically, because of that rule of stocks going up and down a lot, then you load up. You really take a big advantage. So that either happens because something happens to the company, or the market goes down and all stocks go down.
Neil McMahon, New York City. Berkshire owns several companies, stock in several companies, which are called permanent holdings. In the early 70s, we had a two-tier market, the one-decision stocks, high PEs, 50, 60 times earnings. If that were to reappear again, would Berkshire's companies still be permanent, or is there a price for everything?
Well, there are things that we think there's no price for, and we've been tested sometimes and haven't sold them. But my friend Bill Gates says that it has to be illogical at some point. The numbers at some price you have to be willing to sell something that's a marketable security, forgetting about a controlled business. But we really have a great reluctance to sell businesses where we like both the business and the people. So I don't think I'd count on seeing many sales. But if you ever attend a meeting here and there are 60 or 70 times earnings, keep an eye on me. Charlie?
The so-called two-tier market created difficulties, I would say primarily because a lot of people, companies were called Tier 1 when they really weren't. They just had been at some time Tier 1. If you're right about the companies, you can hold them at pretty high values.
Yeah, you can really hold them at extraordinary levels if you've got. It's too hard to find. You're not going to find businesses that are as good. So then you have to say, am I going to get a chance to buy back the same business at a lot lower price, or am I going to buy something that's almost as good at a lot lower price? And we don't think we're very good at doing that. We'd rather just sit and hold a business and pretend the stock market doesn't exist. That actually has worked out way better for us than I would have predicted 20 years ago. I mean, that mindset has, or 25 years ago, that mindset is, there's been a fair amount of good fortune that's flowed out of that I really wouldn't have predicted.
But there you're demonstrating your trick again, still learning. A lot of people regard that as cheating.
You just heard insights from Mohnish Pabrai, Peter Lynch, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Together they shared 3 timeless investing lessons. First one, never buy a stock just because you think you can sell it later for a quick profit. Buy businesses you'd be happy to own for years and only consider selling if the company's fundamentals deteriorate. And the second one, don't over-diversify. Peter Lynch famously called excessive diversification is diversification. He believed that if you have done your research and found an exceptional business, owning a concentrated portfolio can produce far better results than spreading your money across dozens of average stocks. And finally, don't be afraid of high PE stocks. Truly great companies often trade at premium valuations because of their exceptional growth and quality. If your analysis is correct and the business continues to perform, paying higher valuation can still lead to outstanding long-term returns.